The human ship looked small and broken against the black of space. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the Times Defiance asterisk, watching the massive alien vessel approach. His crew worked frantically around him, trying to fix the damaged systems that sparked and smoked from their last encounter with space pirates. "Sir, they're hailing us," said Lieutenant Sarah Park from the communications station. Marcus nodded. "Put them through." The main screen flickered to life. An alien woman appeared before them. She had blue-gray skin and large golden eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light of her bridge. She wore a dark military uniform covered in silver markings. Her presence commanded respect, and even through the screen, Marcus could sense her authority. "I am Commander Zarathek of the Hegemony Third Fleet," she said in perfect English, though her voice carried a strange accent. "You will surrender your vessel immediately. Your species is new to us, but you will follow our laws now." Marcus straightened his shoulders. "I'm Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth Ship Times Defiance asterisk. We're explorers, not fighters. We mean no harm to your people." Zarathek's golden eyes narrowed. "Your intentions do not matter. The hegemony claims this sector. You will submit to inspection and processing." Behind Marcus, the navigation system let out a loud beep. Warning lights flashed across the console. The ship shuddered as something went wrong with their engines. "Captain," called out Ensign Rodriguez from the engineering station, "the navigation array is failing. The pirate attack damaged the quantum processors. We're flying blind." Marcus looked at the readings on his screen. Numbers and diagrams flashed in complex patterns. The ship was drifting toward an asteroid field, and without proper navigation, they would crash into the rocks within minutes. "Can you fix it?" Marcus asked. "Not from here, sir. Someone needs to go to the array room and manually reset the quantum matrix. But the calculations, they're too complex to do by hand." 1. Marcus studied the navigation data streaming across his screen. Mathematical equations, orbital mechanics, gravitational fields, all changing by the second as the ship moved through space. His mind began working through the numbers, finding patterns in the chaos. "I'll do it," Marcus said. He turned to Lieutenant Park. "Keep the channel open with Commander Zarathek. Maybe we can talk while I work." Marcus left the bridge and ran through the ship's corridors. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. He could hear the engines straining as the ship fought against the gravitational pull of the asteroids. In the navigation array room, Marcus opened the access panel. Thousands of quantum processors lay before him, their lights blinking in seemingly random patterns. But Marcus saw the logic behind it. He began pulling out damaged components and replacing them with backup units. On the bridge, Zarathek watched through their communication link. Her bridge crew gathered behind her, all staring at the human captain as he worked. They had never seen anything like this. "What is he doing?" asked Subcommander Thekvar, Zarathek's second-in-command. "He appears to be repairing their navigation system," Zarathek replied, but her voice carried uncertainty. Manually, through the open channel, they could hear Marcus talking to himself as he worked. Numbers flowed from his mouth, calculations that should have required powerful computers. He was solving quantum mechanics equations in his head while replacing broken parts with his hands. "The gravitational constant needs to account for the asteroid field density," Marcus muttered as he worked. "Carry the 7. Multiply by the ship's mass ratio." His hands moved quickly, reconnecting circuits, while his mind processed the complex mathematics. Zarathek's golden eyes grew wide. Her breathing became faster. Around her, the bridge crew stepped back in amazement and fear. In hegemony society, intelligence determined everything. The smartest beings ruled, while the less intelligent served. Zarathek had clawed her way to command through her mental abilities, proving she could outthink her enemies and solve problems others could not. But what she was watching defied everything she knew. This human was performing calculations that would challenge the finest hegemony scientists. He was doing it under pressure, while his ship flew towards certain death. And he was doing it all in his head, without computer assistance. "Impossible," whispered Thekvar. "No organic mind can process quantum navigation mathematics that quickly." But Marcus was not finished. As he completed the repairs, he realized the ship was still moving too fast toward the asteroids. They needed to change course immediately, but the new navigation system would take minutes to fully calculate a safe path. So Marcus began plotting the course himself. He closed his eyes and visualized the asteroid field. Thousands of space rocks, each with its own gravitational pull, each moving in its own orbit. He calculated trajectories, found gaps between the asteroids, and planned a path that would take the ship to safety. "Bridge, I'm sending you a manual navigation course," Marcus said into his communicator. "Follow these coordinates exactly." The numbers he transmitted were perfect. Lieutenant Park inputted them into the ship's systems, and the Times Defiance Times began weaving through the asteroid field like a dancer moving through falling snow. On her ship, Zarathek felt something she had never experienced before. Her knees grew weak. Her hands began to shake. Every instinct in her body told her to bow, to submit, to serve. This human had just displayed cognitive abilities that exceeded anything in hegemony records. By the laws of her people, by the deepest programming in her genetics, Marcus Chen was her superior. Commander Zarathek, conqueror of 12 star systems, slowly lowered her head in respect to the human captain. Marcus returned to the bridge, wiping grease from his hands with a dirty cloth. The Times, Defiance Times, now flew safely through open space, having cleared the asteroid field. He looked at the main screen where Commander Zarathek still waited. But something had changed. The alien commander sat differently now. Her back was straight, but her head was tilted downward in a way that seemed respectful. Her golden eyes looked up at him with an expression Marcus could not understand. "Commander, are you all right?" Marcus asked. "You look different." Zarathek's crew shifted nervously behind her. They whispered to each other in their own language, pointing at Marcus and then at their commander. Marcus could see confusion and fear in their faces. "I am processing what I have witnessed," Zarathek said slowly. "Captain Chen, may I ask about your training? What academies did you attend? What level of cognitive enhancement have you received?" Marcus frowned. "I went to Earth Naval Academy. Basic training, nothing special. I learned navigation and ship operations like every other officer." "Why do you ask?" "No. You solved quantum mathematics in your head," Zarathek said. "While under stress, while performing manual repairs. This should not be possible for someone of lower cognitive classification." "Lower cognitive classification?" Marcus repeated. "I don't understand." Lieutenant Park leaned toward Marcus. "Sir, I think there might be a cultural misunderstanding here." Zarathek's second-in-command, Thekvar, stepped forward. He spoke to his commander in their alien language, his voice urgent and worried. Zarathek responded sharply, silencing him. "Forgive my subordinate," Zarathek said to Marcus. "He does not understand the proper protocols for addressing a superior cognitive entity." "Superior cognitive entity?" Marcus said. "Commander, I think we need to talk about this more clearly. I'm just a ship captain. Nothing more." But Zarathek's reaction to his words only made things worse. She bowed her head even lower, as if his humility proved his superiority even more. On the hegemony bridge, chaos was beginning. The crew members talked rapidly among themselves. Some pointed scanning devices at the human ship. Others checked their computer systems, as if trying to understand what had gone wrong with their measurements. "Commander," Thekvar said in English this time, so the humans could understand. "The readings make no sense. These humans show no signs of cognitive enhancement. No artificial brain implants. no genetic modifications, yet they display intelligence levels that should be impossible. Marcus began to understand that something important was happening, but he still did not know what. Commander Zarathek, could you explain your society to me? Help me understand why you're acting this way? Zarathek looked up at him, and Marcus saw something like pain in her golden eyes. In hegemony society, intelligence determines rank. The smartest rule. The less intelligent serve. It has been this way for thousands of years. She gestured to her crew. I became a commander because I could solve problems others could not. I could think faster, calculate better, plan more effectively than those around me. This gave me the right to lead. That seems reasonable, Marcus said. But you have demonstrated cognitive abilities far beyond mine, Zarathek continued. The calculations you performed. The spatial reasoning. The multitasking under pressure. These are abilities we associate only with our highest caste, the ruling minds, who govern our entire civilization. Marcus felt uncomfortable with the direction of this conversation. Commander, I just did my job. Every human captain learns these skills. We have to, or our ships would crash. Every human captain? Zarathek's voice became very quiet. Of course, basic navigation, emergency repairs, mental mathematics, it's all standard training. Behind Zarathek, her crew was becoming more agitated. They had been scanning the human ship and finding more impossible things. The engineering officer reported that a human mechanic was rebuilding a damaged power coupling using spare parts that should not work together. The communications officer said a human linguist was already learning to speak basic hegemony language after listening for only 30 minutes. This cannot be correct, Thekvar said. Our intelligence tests are precise. We have classified every known species in the galaxy. Humans should be mid-level cognitive entities at best. Your tests might be wrong, Lieutenant Park said from her station. Or maybe you're measuring the wrong things. Zarathek turned to look at Park. Explain. Well, Park said, you seem to value pure computational ability and complex problem-solving. But humans aren't computers. We're adaptable. We learn quickly, we improvise, we find creative solutions to new problems. Creative solutions. Zarathek repeated the words as if they were foreign. Yeah, said Ensign Rodriguez from engineering. Like, when something breaks, we don't just replace it with the exact same part. We modify things, combine things, invent new approaches. Marcus watched Zarathek's face as she processed this information. Her expression showed a mixture of fascination and growing distress. In our society, Zarathek said slowly, there are correct solutions and incorrect solutions. Intelligence means finding the correct solution quickly. But what if there isn't just one correct solution? Marcus asked. What if there are many possible answers, and the best one depends on the situation? Zarathek stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something that shocked her own crew. She stood up from her commander's chair and formally bowed to Marcus, lowering her head until her forehead almost touched her chest. I acknowledge your cognitive superiority, she said in a voice that carried across both bridges. According to the laws of the hegemony, I place myself in service to you. What? No, Marcus said quickly. Commander, please sit down. You don't need to serve anyone. We're equals here. But his protest only made Zarathek bow deeper. In her mind, his refusal to accept her service was proof of his wisdom and superiority. A truly advanced being would not need to demand submission. It would be given freely. Marcus looked around his bridge helplessly. His crew stared back at him with expressions of confusion and concern. None of them understood what was happening, but they could all see that it was something significant. On the Hegemony Bridge, the crew watched their proud commander submit to an alien they had planned to conquer. The implications of what they were witnessing would change everything they believed about intelligence, authority, and their place in the galaxy. 3 hours later, more ships arrived. Marcus watched through the main screen as massive hegemony vessels dropped out of hyperspace, their hulls bristling with weapons. The fleet that emerged was 10 times larger than Zarathek's single ship. Admiral Kothran demands immediate communication. Thekvar reported from his station on Zarathek's bridge. The alien officer looked nervous and kept glancing between his commander and the human ship. Zarathek still stood in her respectful position, having refused to sit in her command chair while Marcus was present on the communication channel. "Connect us to the Admiral," she said quietly. A new alien appeared on the screen. Admiral Kothran was older than Zarathek, with darker skin and scars across his face. His uniform carried more silver markings, and his presence radiated authority and impatience. "Commander Zarathek," the Admiral said sharply, "explain why your ship has not destroyed the human vessel. Our scouts reported you made contact 3 hours ago. Why do these primitives still live?" Quote, Marcus saw Zarathek's shoulders tense. She looked at him briefly, then back at her superior. "Admiral, the situation is complex. These humans are not what our intelligence reports indicated." "Explain quickly," Kothran demanded. "I have orders to clear this sector of all human presence. The Council wants these creatures eliminated before they can spread further into our territory." "Sir," Zarathek said carefully, "I believe our intelligence classification of humans was incorrect. They demonstrate cognitive abilities that exceed our initial assessments." Admiral Kothran's face showed disbelief. "Impossible. Our cognitive measurement protocols are perfect. These humans barely have faster than light travel. They are clearly a primitive species. With respect, Admiral, I have observed their capabilities directly. They perform complex calculations without computer assistance. They adapt to new situations with remarkable speed. They solve problems using methods our databases do not recognize." Kothran's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Commander, are you suggesting that these animals are more intelligent than hegemony citizens?" The question hung in the air like poison. Marcus could see other hegemony ships moving into attack positions around his small vessel. His crew worked quietly at their stations, preparing for battle while trying not to appear threatening. "Admiral," Marcus said, stepping forward to address Kothran directly, "perhaps we could discuss this peacefully. We're explorers, not conquerors. We're willing to share knowledge and find mutually beneficial arrangements." Admiral Kothran stared at Marcus with cold hatred. "You dare speak to me directly? Primitive? You will address me as superior or not at all?" But something strange happened as the Admiral spoke. Officers on his bridge began pointing their scanners at the human ship. Marcus could see them studying their readings with growing confusion. Some of them spoke to each other in urgent whispers. "Admiral," one of his officers said hesitantly, "the scanning reports are unusual." "What do you mean, unusual?" Kothran snapped. "Sir, the humans are performing tasks that our computers classify as requiring advanced cognitive level 7 or higher, but they show no signs of artificial enhancement or genetic modification." Marcus watched as more hegemony ships arrived. But instead of immediately attacking, their commanders began scanning the human vessel. Within minutes, communication channels buzzed with confused reports. "Admiral," came a voice from another ship, "the humans are reconfiguring their shield generators using our own energy frequencies. They learned to read our scanning patterns and adapted their defenses accordingly. In real time." "Impossible," Kothran said, but his voice carried less certainty than before. Another commander reported, "Sir, they've somehow improved the efficiency of their engines by 30% during this conversation. Our analysis shows they're using theoretical modifications that our best engineers only proposed last year." Marcus glanced at Lieutenant Park, who shrugged. "Rodriguez has been tinkering with the engine settings," she explained quietly. He said he had some ideas. After looking at their ship designs, Admiral Cothron's bridge became chaotic as more reports came in. The humans were doing impossible things. A human linguist was now speaking fluent hegemony language and had started learning their technical terminology. A human engineer was sending suggestions for improving hegemony weapon systems. A human navigator had calculated a more efficient route through the local star system than their own computers had found. "This must be some kind of deception," Cothron said, but his voice shook slightly. "No species can be this adaptive." Then disaster struck for the Admiral's worldview. Captain Reeves, commanding the human vessel Times Explorer's Dream *, contacted the growing fleet. "Hello," Captain Reeves said cheerfully on an open channel. "I'm Captain Elizabeth Reeves. We detected the large gathering of ships and thought we'd introduce ourselves." Admiral Cothron stared at the new human ship. "Another one?" he whispered. Within an hour, 3 more human ships had arrived. Each captain demonstrated the same impossible cognitive flexibility that had shattered Zarathek's understanding. Captain Singh solved a complex hyperspace navigation problem that had puzzled hegemony mathematicians for decades. Captain Williams jury-rigged a universal translator that could handle 18 different alien languages simultaneously. Captain Torres created a new alloy by combining materials from both human and alien ships, producing something stronger than either civilization had developed separately. On Admiral Cothron's bridge, junior officers began showing the same signs Zarathek's crew had displayed earlier. They looked at their human counterparts with growing awe and confusion. Some stepped back from their stations, as if afraid to continue their duties while such superior beings watched. "Admiral," Subcommander Vextar said quietly, "perhaps we should reconsider our approach. If these humans truly possess such advanced cognitive abilities—" "Silence!" Cothran roared, but his anger seemed forced. Behind his rage, Marcus could see fear growing in the Admiral's eyes. Commander Zarathek had remained quiet during most of these exchanges, but now she spoke. "Admiral, I formally request permission to establish diplomatic relations with the human fleet. Their cognitive superiority is evident. According to hegemony law—" "You will not quote law to me," Cothran interrupted, but his protest sounded hollow. Around him, his own officers were beginning to look at the humans with the same respectful deference that Zarathek had shown. The rigid hierarchy of the hegemony was beginning to crumble, ship by ship, as the reality of human adaptability crashed against their ancient beliefs about intelligence and worthiness. What had begun as a simple conquest was becoming something much more dangerous. A revolution of thought that would reshape their entire civilization. Commander Zarathek faced the hardest choice of her life. She stood in her private quarters, staring at a secure communication device that would connect her directly to Marcus Chen without Admiral Cothron knowing. Her duty as a hegemony officer demanded loyalty to the fleet, but every instinct in her body told her to protect and serve the humans. Through her porthole, she could see the growing hegemony war fleet. More ships arrived every hour, responding to Admiral Cothron's call for reinforcements. Soon, there would be 50 warships surrounding the 5 small human vessels. The Admiral had made his intentions clear during the closed military briefing. "These humans are a threat to our social order," he had declared. "If word spreads that primitives can outthink our best officers, our entire civilization will collapse. They must be destroyed, and all records of their abilities must be erased." But Zarathek had seen too much to pretend the humans were primitive. In the past few hours, she had watched them solve problems, adapt to challenges, and demonstrate creativity that surpassed anything in hegemony databases. Her people's definition of intelligence was too narrow, too rigid. She activated the communication device. "Captain Chen," she said when Marcus appeared on her screen, "I must warn you of immediate danger." Marcus looked tired. He had been dealing with confused and increasingly hostile alien ships for hours. "What kind of danger, Commander?" Admiral Kothron plans to attack your fleet within 6 hours. He has declared you a threat to hegemony stability. The official report will state that you fired first. Marcus nodded grimly. We suspected something like this might happen. Thank you for the warning. 1. There is more, Zarathak said. The Admiral has called for the Purge Fleet. These are specialized ships, designed to eliminate entire species. They will arrive within 12 hours. Amar. 19. How many ships are we talking about? 200 vessels. Each equipped with planet-killing weapons. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, Why are you telling me this? You're risking your career. Maybe your life. Zarathek met his eyes through the screen. Because serving superior cognitive entities is more important than following incorrect orders. According to the deepest laws of my people, you and your kind have the right to rule, not die. Commander, we don't want to rule anyone, Marcus said gently. We just want to live in peace. His words made Zarathek's devotion stronger, not weaker. In her understanding, truly superior beings did not need to demand power. They simply deserved it. What will you do? She asked. We'll fight, Marcus said simply. It's not much of a choice. 5 ships against hundreds. You cannot win such a battle. Maybe not in the way you think about winning, but humans have survived worse odds before. After ending the communication, Zarathek faced another terrible moment. Her bridge crew had noticed her unauthorized contact with the humans. Tekvar and 3 other officers stood in her quarters, their faces showing mixtures of concern and suspicion. Commander, Tekvar said carefully, some of the crew are questioning your recent decisions. They say you are betraying the hegemony. And what do you think? Zarathek asked. I think you are following a higher law than Admiral Kothron understands. But others may not see it that way. The crew was splitting apart. Half of them had observed the humans closely enough to recognize their cognitive superiority. These officers felt the same instinctive submission that Zarathek experienced, but the other half remained loyal to traditional hegemony authority, confused and angry about their commander's behavior. Meanwhile, Marcus prepared his small fleet for the impossible battle ahead. He gathered the other human captains for a strategy meeting via holographic communication. We can't outgun them, Captain Reeves said bluntly. Their ships are bigger, faster, and more heavily armed. But we can outthink them, Captain Singh added. They're used to following rigid tactics. We're not. Their weakness is their strength, Captain Williams observed. Their hierarchy makes them predictable. They follow orders, even when those orders don't make sense. Marcus studied the tactical displays. The hegemony fleet had arranged itself in perfect geometric formations around the human ships. Beautiful to look at, but inflexible. Here's what we're going to do, Marcus said. We're going to give them exactly what they expect, up to a point. The human captains spent 2 hours planning. They would use the hegemony's own rigid thinking against them. Every action would be designed to create confusion in the alien command structure, to force individual commanders to make decisions their hierarchy had not prepared them for. As they planned, something unexpected happened aboard the hegemony ships. Crew members began choosing sides. On Zarathek's vessel, the split became open conflict when Thekvar challenged her authority directly. I cannot follow a commander who serves aliens, he declared in front of the entire bridge crew. Then you do not understand what we have discovered, Zarathek replied. These humans exceed us in every measure of cognitive ability. By our own laws, they deserve our respect, not our hostility. They are primitives, Thekvar insisted. They barely have starships. They have something better than advanced technology, Zarathek said. They have minds that can adapt to anything. The argument spread throughout the hegemony fleet. On some ships, commanders quietly began reconsidering their orders. On others, officers arrested their superiors for treason. The perfect unity of the alien fleet started breaking apart as individual beings wrestled with contradictions between their beliefs and what they had observed. Admiral Cothran tried to maintain control through fear and authority. He issued execution orders for any officer who showed inappropriate deference to humans. But his harsh measures only made the splits worse. "Sir," one of his own bridge officers reported nervously, 14 ships are requesting clarification of engagement protocols. They want to know if peaceful solutions have been fully explored. "There will be no peaceful solutions," Cothran shouted. "These humans are a disease that must be eliminated." But even as he spoke, Admiral Cothran felt doubt creeping into his mind. He had watched the tactical recordings. He had seen humans accomplish impossible things with casual ease. What if the rigid beliefs of hegemony society were wrong? What if intelligence came in forms they had never recognized? The question terrified him, because if it was true, then everything he had built his life upon was a lie. The battle began at dawn, ship time. Admiral Cothran gave the order to attack, and 50 hegemony warships opened fire on the 5 human vessels. But the humans did not respond as expected. Instead of fighting back immediately, the human ships scattered in seemingly random directions. They moved in patterns that made no tactical sense, according to hegemony, military doctrine. Some ships accelerated toward the alien fleet. Others flew away at odd angles. One ship, Captain Torres's Times, New Horizon Asterisk, actually shut down its weapons and began broadcasting mathematical equations. "What are they doing?" demanded Admiral Cothran as he watched the chaotic human movements. "Unknown, sir," replied his tactical officer. "Their behavior does not match any combat strategy in our databases." But Marcus Chen knew exactly what he was doing. The human captains had studied hegemony fleet formations and found their weakness. The aliens were too organized. Their ships moved in perfect coordination, which meant they could not adapt quickly to unexpected changes. Captain Singh's ship, Pioneer *, suddenly reversed direction and flew directly through the middle of a hegemony battle formation. The alien ships could not fire without hitting each other. As Singh passed through their formation, his crew transmitted detailed scans of hegemony ship designs to the other human vessels. "How did they penetrate our defensive screen?" Cothran's navigator asked in confusion. "They used our own coordination against us," the tactical officer replied, his voice filled with reluctant admiration. Meanwhile, Captain Reeves had positioned her ship Times, Explorer's Dream Times, near a group of hegemony vessels and begun demonstrating advanced engineering techniques. Her crew modified their shields to perfectly mirror hegemony energy signatures, making it impossible for the alien ships to target them without sophisticated recalibrations. But the most shocking development came from Captain Torres. Instead of fighting, she had opened communication channels with every hegemony ship in the fleet and begun teaching them mathematics. "Your quantum field equations are incomplete," Torres explained to amazed alien engineers. "If you adjust the resonance frequency by 12% and modify the containment field geometry, you can increase your engine efficiency by 40%. On ship after ship, hegemony crews stopped fighting to listen to Torres's lessons. They had spent their lives studying these same equations, but they had never seen the creative modifications Torres was suggesting. Admiral Cothran watched his perfect battle plan crumble. His ships were no longer maintaining formation. Crews were abandoning their battle stations to listen to human transmissions. Some vessels had stopped firing altogether. "Sir," his communications officer reported nervously, "the Times, Determination Times, is requesting permission to implement human engine modifications." "Denied," Cothran shouted. "All ships will maintain combat status." But his orders were increasingly ignored. On 14 ships, crew members had begun showing the same respectful behavior toward humans that Commander Zarathek displayed. They could not bring themselves to fire upon beings they now recognized as cognitively superior. The turning point came when Captain Williams aboard Times Starwalker Times performed an act that broke the alien fleet's unity forever. When hegemony ships surrounded his vessel, Williams did not fight or flee. Instead, he solved a problem that had puzzled hegemony science for generations. "Your ships are beautiful," Williams transmitted to his attackers. "But I notice you're having trouble with power distribution in your weapon systems. The energy conduits create interference patterns. Would you like me to show you how to fix that?" Before Admiral Cothran could stop them, 3 hegemony ships accepted Williams's offer. Within an hour, their weapon efficiency had improved by 30%. Word of this improvement spread through the fleet like wildfire. Commander Zarathek saw her opportunity. She opened a fleet-wide communication channel and spoke directly to every ship in the hegemony force. "Fellow officers," she said, her voice carrying across space to hundreds of aliens. "We came here to conquer primitives. But we have discovered something far more valuable. Teachers. These humans offer us knowledge, growth, and partnership. They ask for nothing but peace." "Traitor!" Admiral Cothran screamed. But his voice was lost among dozens of other commanders who began responding to Zarathek's words. "The human Captain Singh has solved our hyperspace navigation problems. Captain Torres has improved our shield technology. Captain Reeves has shown us new approaches to stellar cartography." One by one, hegemony ships began lowering their weapons. Crews that had observed human adaptability could no longer bring themselves to fight. The rigid hierarchy that had held their society together for thousands of years was dissolving before Admiral Cothran's eyes. Marcus Chen watched the transformation with amazement and concern. The last thing he had wanted was to destroy alien society. As more hegemony ships surrendered or switched sides, he made a decision that would change both civilizations forever. "Open a channel to the entire fleet," he told Lieutenant Park. "All ships, alien and human." When every vessel was listening, Marcus spoke simply and directly. "We didn't come here to conquer anyone, or to be conquered. We came to explore, to learn, to make friends with other species. Commander Zarathek, you don't need to bow to us. Admiral Cothran, you don't need to fear us. We're all intelligent beings. We all have something to offer each other." He paused, looking at the hundreds of ships surrounding him. "Intelligence isn't about who's smartest or who gets to rule. It's about what we can accomplish together. Humans are good at adapting and solving problems creatively. Your people are good at organization, planning, and technical precision. Imagine what we could build if we combined those strengths." Admiral Cothran felt something break inside his mind. For 50 years, he had believed that intelligence was a hierarchy, that the smartest beings deserved to rule the others. But Marcus Chen's words suggested a different possibility, that different types of intelligence could work together as equals. "You would truly treat us as partners?" Zarathek asked. "Even after we came to destroy you?" "Especially after that," Marcus replied. "It takes courage to change your mind when you discover new evidence. That's a kind of intelligence, too." 6 months later, the first joint human hegemony research station was established at the edge of both territories. Commander Zarathek served as its director, working alongside Captain Chen to coordinate exploration missions that combined human creativity with hegemony technical expertise. She no longer bowed when she saw him. Instead, she stood as his equal partner in building something neither species could have achieved alone. The rigid castes of hegemony society began evolving into flexible teams where different types of thinking were valued for their unique contributions. Admiral Cothran, after months of struggle with his changing worldview, eventually requested assignment to the research station. He wanted to understand this new form of intelligence that valued cooperation over dominance. The galaxy became a more interesting place when 2 species learned that the greatest intelligence was knowing when to stand together rather than above each other.